It's with great honor and enthusiasm that I have the privilege of introducing our first speaker. The firm of Tod Williams and Billy Chen Architects was founded in 1974 in New York City. Known for valuing the deliberate and hands-on approach to design, the husband and wife partnership has won numerous awards for their work. Largely focused on academic and cultural projects, their buildings can be seen all over the world. The firm sees architecture as an act of profound optimism. Its foundation lies in believing that it is possible to make places on the earth that can give a sense of grace to life, and believing that that matters. It is what we have to give, and it is what we leave behind. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming Tod Williams.
Thank you. Thanks, Brandon. As Brandon said, there's much more to push this up. Sorry. There's much more. Maybe it works. Okay, then. Never. Okay. Than me alone. My wife Billy and I have been working together since 1977, and I always like to be with her. We basically do all work together in the studios, 25 people. It's very less than that. That's about like, I think this is fine. And the art of architecture has to do with, encouraging people who work for us to believe, as we do, that that architecture does matter. That life and architecture are intertwined as they are. So we operate very much in a family. In the studio, we don't want to call upon the top, but we believe that everyone counts. And so we actually work in a room that's about this size, and all of the desks are the same. And they know that if I make a mistake or swearing or wasting time, that's what I'm doing, and I do a lot of that. But I think that it's important by seeing my mistakes and my strengths, that they are encouraged to feel confident in their own strengths and weaknesses. The art of architecture, so I'm only going to show 4 projects here and there. Certainly when I think about Wyoming, which I don't know very well, although I was here when I was 12, and a couple of other times in Yellowstone and Jackson. It's an amazing state, and the West is an amazing place. I'm going to show only 4 projects. Let's see if we can get this right. Go right.
Nothing's working today, apparently.
So I'm sure it's working. It's just me. We care about what buildings look like, but not so much how they work, how sturdy they are, or how they're experienced, but how they're experienced within and how they are loved. Actually, for the first, although I worked for Richard Meyer for the first 6 or 7 years of my young career, soon after I left there, for the next 15 or 16 years, all we did was interiors. And we didn't have any big connections, and so we built our practice from interiors. And I still believe that the interiors is what we really have to offer, particularly as I get older and things fall apart. You actually become more and more mature, and your interior develops. And so, as we live most of our lives, even out here in the West, you spend your evenings inside, and you spend our days inside. And interiors are absolutely crucial to architecture. So I like the idea of building from the interior. And I think if you read the quote, a friend of mine who's a really terrific architect, David Chipperfield, has said that when we lose confidence in the art of building, we begin to revert to form making rather than thinking about how buildings are truly made. So I like to think of architecture as evolving from both the interior and how we experience space, emotionally and tactily, but also how it's built. So the art has very little to do with our ability to be artists. So the 4 projects are a research campus, and this was a 1992 or 3 project, 95, well 92 when we started in La Jolla, California. It's right close to the Salk Institute, and it was the first time we built out west. We had really never even done a laboratory. This is the first of three laboratories we've now done. So it was astounding that Dr. Gerald Edelman, who was from New York and moved from New York to the West Coast, had worked at the SOC, and it was a Nobel laureate, asked us to design a campus when we really had so little experience. This is, you all may know, this is the site of the SOC, and this is kind of a dumb diagram because this is Scripps Research Institute here. The SOC is an independent institute. This is La Jolla. And in the distance, and the site was really a developed site, and this was our site. It didn't look at the water, it looked at the other side. And we were expected to do something in that particular footprint, but we were encouraged to think further. These are the very early sketches, and Billy and I always draw freehand. I can't work on a computer. Everyone else can, but everyone else also can draw. But so we continue to draw. Like this time, this is just a pencil sketch. Thinking about the early concept of the project, which was to take the building and break it into pieces. So we created a place. And, you know, when the environment's as pleasant as it is in La Jolla, you can use the outside as kind of extending the sense of the campus. So the three elements of this particular project were a scientific auditorium. Dr. Edelman happened to be a chamber music buff and was an excellent violinist. Laboratories, which we see spread here, and then a theory center here. So we pulled the program into three elements, something that I try to do whenever I can do that. An early sketch that actually isn't too much like the project. This is the top of the Torrey Pines Drive, and this side you look at the Pacific, and this you look to the east. But I said I wanted our building to be barely visible. Well, fortunately, it's not as visible; it's much less visible. But we dug it into the lot plan, so this didn't really follow. An early clay model, more or less, shows that this is North Torrey Pines, and then looking out over it, you know, it was easy to build in concrete. We thought that the foundations of all buildings should be concrete, and I still believe and know that concrete is the base material for everything. So if we can bring it into our lives, it is in this floor just polished. It's a pretty noble material and a beautiful material, even a tactile material. The plans of the building, you can see more or less that early sketch. An early wood model. No one today makes wood models. We make about a foam core, but we make lots and lots of models. Now, what I was proposing was that we have a tunnel that went from the campus on this side under North Torrey Pines Road and land on the top of the building and then descend into this campus by inclined walks, making the theory center an object, a quiet object, running the laboratories under the land in here, and then making an independent structure of the auditorium, and then varying the mechanical here, but the large mechanical for the laboratories over here. So it actually, although they are no longer using that facility, Scripps owns it, I'm happy to say 3 years later, it's really in good shape. So this is the tunnel. The first thing we did, had them bring a tunnel under the road to bring people onto the campus, and then cutting the land, which was fairly sandy, and then beginning to build the structure from concrete. And we said this should just be, you know, very good concrete. It didn't have to be architectural concrete, but if you made sure it didn't leak too much, and we made true planes, then we could sandblast it and have the richness of the concrete come forward. This structure here needed to have a long span, so that was steel, but otherwise everything was concrete. And shortly after it was completed, there's a great deal of fill over the laboratories, which run back under the hill through here. They're interesting because they're double-loaded laboratories, and as one walks down a corridor, it gets increasingly narrower and narrower, but at various points there are kinks where you can step outside and walk into the plaza here. So it's really very much about a kind of, oops, in the back. Oh, okay. So here's the concrete. Again, simple planes. We patched the form ties at this point, and then sandblast. We said no parging in the concrete should be there. And then we set little maquettes that we made in our studio, wooden maquettes, and as they pulled the forms, they then pulled these things, which were landmarks. Well, concrete is a pretty cold material, and so because a lot of people hate concrete and think, oh, it's such a cold, tough material, we're always trying to balance it with something warm. So one of the principles Billy and I have is to always balance warm with cool wherever we can, balance the raw with the sensual. And so we have a concrete terrace with stone inlay. These Texas fossil stone walls have a great richness. It's a little similar to Kahn's Soft Institute. And then the inclined walks that allow us to walk through the campus without needing stairs, although there happens to be stairs behind here, so shortcuts about. And then really the idea of the campus, at least for us in all campuses, is the way we connect not inside the buildings, but as we walk between the buildings, and we continue to do this where we can. So this is the actual, the chamber music auditorium, which seems to be very, very raw on the outside, and it is a little raw. And then inside, as you step into that, you begin to see the use of wood. You can see the mahogany panels here. They don't get much sun in, so they remain in pretty good shape 20 years later. Really fun. We got that. Here we are looking at it from above, just that was planted, the mechanical plant down here, and the eucalyptus planted over the laboratories in the distance. We can see actually what's really grown up. But because this whole area has grown up over the last 20 years, this remains a very serene and special place to be. Yeah. Concrete steps, balanced with the stone walls. Concrete rent, balanced with the stone. Stone carpets here. Colors look pretty crude at this time. And then the fronts of the laboratories extend up to become a railing, so that as you walk on the tops of the laboratories over actually precast concrete pavers, you can look down into the courtyard. Sorry, all these images are 20 years old. And then the interiors are always count, so structure is concrete, and you bring the leaders next to it, and cap the leaders with the mahogany and dress it up slightly. The ceiling is concrete. Of course, you have to be careful where you run your electrical. Okay, Dr. Edelman's office now in the distance there will be many buildings, but they're all lower, so this looks like a garden that one would enter, but actually it's an inaccessible roof. So we brought up some elements that exhaust from below and masking them and highlight to bring light to the space below, and pretended that that was a garden you could walk in. And then the dining facility for the fellows, where we designed the tables and chairs, and then the tapestry that really Billy designed. Typically, we do everything together. In the case of the tables and chairs, I designed them. Billy designed the tapestry. Construction of the laboratories. You can see the 20-year-old computers on the desks. And although the facilities have changed, certainly the laboratories have also changed. This more or less remains intact. There's the auditorium and very large doors that open up, so the vestibule for the auditorium itself is tiny, but by using the big doors and opening them up, you can immediately step outside and use that as the vestibule undercover, because occasionally bring in some talking distance. We were not using computers at this time. We didn't begin to use them until nearly 2000, so we made little maquettes of the interior of the auditorium that needed reflected panels. It was very, very complex, very difficult for them to make, and then they eventually did this in plaster. So these are a series of plaster folds with the mechanical dropping down through from the slots above and returning below the seats. The second project is in Bennington, Vermont, and Bennington is a college that is 75 years old. It's a liberal arts college. It was basically started on a farm. Not many people come to Bennington. And they wanted a place where people would come, interesting people would come and meet to talk about the future. The kids would in a way be connected to a larger world. So this is the campus as it exists, and then we were asked to try to find a site to build this new facility, which is the Center for Advancement of Public Action. They felt that the students who went to Bennington should learn to go out in the world and do something of value. And so part of their responsibility in college is to take a number of months off and do something. Not that being a ski instructor wouldn't be a great job, or fly fisherman guide. And those two are fine. They're absolutely fine. They can change the world, but other people do other things. And so they brought a whole variety of people in to say, you know, this is just not time out. This could actually be your future. And it's beginning to work well. So we chose this particular site, which was close to the Visual and Performing Arts Center. Actually, this was the backyard of it, and there was a disused farm pond there. And so we thought if we put our building there, it could sort of restore the back of the VAPO, the Visual and Performing Arts Center. We could take this on slightly higher land and begin to clean and use the pond as part of our landscape, and we could also get rid of some of the parking responsibility because it would be shared with the Visual and Performing Arts Center. It was better than putting it in a kind of greenfield site. Here we are from the original site of the home of the farm, looking down for our site, and the Visual and Performing Arts Center here quite close by. So we're looking down, and we're looking in this case to the west. This is a typical first drawing. It's a better than normal first drawing, I would say. But it once again shows that I took the pieces and broke it. We broke it into 4 pieces. They weren't very clear about, and we were saying, okay, water lands on these roofs and it filters and goes down and feeds the pond. And the parking for the Visual and Performing Arts Center deals with this, and maybe we'll add some more parking. So this is, I guess, my drawing. But we don't always get the project right first time around. So clumsy. Somebody else could move this for me with better fingers. So they weren't clear about what this Visual and Performing Art, this creative, the Center for the Advancement of Public Action is. They knew that they needed seminar spaces. There's no question they needed faculty lounges, and they needed facilities for the rest of the campus. But they wanted to draw interesting people, and they said, well, the donor said, well, think about whatever you'd like to have there. And he said, he was actually from Canada, in Wyoming, and he said, you know, why couldn't a basketball court be an art gallery? And so it started a whole lot of wacky thinking and really wasted more than a year as we studied different ways to create this center. And eventually we settled down. It's not exactly this, but this shows more or less the program. It's still too many pieces, but this was an outdoor seminar space. This was an interior courtyard. This was a 24/7 space for the students to make work. This was the faculty lounge. This was a larger seminar space. And then we had 6 residents for people, you know, maybe from Casper, wherever, Cheyenne, here to visit. But we brought the pieces apart so that you would feel like the land went through the buildings. And here, we had them cut down some of the fields, and eventually that's Billy in the back and me standing on one corner of the site. So I don't know how much you really learn when you're doing that, but you look a little stupid. You have to set the building somewhere, and then you have to test it out. This is basically the plan as it evolved. The back of the Visual and Performing Arts Center now has its delivery, it's cleaned up, and people walked into the center, which has a seminar space, a block of seminar spaces, and the residence is a lot more calm than a year of screwing around. And then the plan actually has evolved. We lost one of those spaces. This is what a space that's offline, that is, that it could be used, it doesn't require any power. And then these are the residences, which could be made into 3 or 6, and they were kind of draws, and we asked to design the interior of each of them. and we did. And then the seminar space for about 70 people, the back around, the meeting spaces, administrative spaces, seminar space, another seminar space. So it's pretty, we got the basketball court in the art gallery. Bennington, Vermont is near Rutland, and this is a pavement in front of a church in Bennington, and north of Bennington, about 50 miles away, is Rutland. Rutland was the center of the marble industry in Vermont, which was sort of the center of the marble industry in the world in the late 1900s. We were doing a huge number of capitals in marble and so on. The Italians hadn't developed their great saws and so on, and although Carrara still was a great location, that was a very inefficient way to get stone out, and unfortunately they got the saws, and the Chinese have the saws, and this entire industry just completely collapsed. And so there literally is a mile-long sort of graveyard of stone in Vermont, and we found that stone, and this is found old pieces, this is slabs of stone there, and we asked the guy who owned it, who largely does tombstones for Arlington and repair work on capitals as a single shop that's much smaller than this room, if we could use his stone. And we did. We eventually developed a layout system for the stone, and we wanted to use the whole variety of stone that was sitting there. So he gave us the instructions for what he could cut and what he could handle, and thus we created a system of laying the stone course by course. And then there was an abandoned gym nearby, and it was winter time, and they used the gym to lay out the facades of the building, as you can see. So this is from a crane, and once that was done, you could number the stones, and it went up rather quickly. So it's 4-inch stone. Oops, daisy. God, I continue to go sensitive. And I'm so insensitive.
Hey, Todd, I can just pour it if you
I
want
would
to tell
know.
me.
Yeah, we played a little bit with pushing the stones in an inch or two, so when the sun rakes it, and then we used a couple of unique pieces that were cornerstones to give it some character, and this is the 4-inch dimension, so it's a pretty conventional wall. The tops of the buildings are dead level, the site drops away, so it becomes a kind of small acropolis in the landscape. And here, this is the residence, and this is the seminar room, so in a way we're using light bouncing off the residence to illuminate the seminar room. You don't look into someone's bedroom or a living room. Next. And in the distance in the winter, it feels pretty good. In summer, it looks good too. That's the pond now cleaned, and we got rid of all the stuff. And so we do take the water from here and we filter it through a center back into the pond, and the pond is now being restored. This is never a natural pond, but at least it feels more natural. Next. In the summertime, looking back at Vapa just after the building was built. Next. Yeah, the buildings, you can see the tops are level, but the land drops slightly. So this is a residence, I should say a residence. There are two here. One sits here, bathroom highlight, porch. You can actually walk through without entering them. You can walk between the buildings here, as you can see. We took boulders that we found from the site and created benches, and then this is the freestanding seminar space. Next. Yeah, here we could walk right across this plaza and go right through the residences without looking into them. So you could walk up to the old manor house there. Next. We had the idea of a kind of this is obviously an operating room, but we thought to make a seminar room that was a little bit like a UN, where people could all participate around a single table and then be filmed, and or it'd be much like this was a horseshoe kind of space. Next. We made all this, had a cabinet maker in Long Island City making stuff and bringing out this corian tops and walnut and a little bit of laminate in there. And then using walnut bars, and then the fabric that was printed in the 50s that's still reprinted, we created kind of walls that receive and absorb sound. So the seminar room is a comfortable space acoustically. Cork floor. Next. Yeah, next. Yeah, looking out at the residence, someone passing by. Next. the seminar spaces that they wanted. This is a building that could be used 24/7 by the kids, so these are all open throughout the year. Pretty conventional rooms. You know, pinnable walls and so on. Next. Yeah, this seemed counterintuitive, which was to pitch all the roofs inward. So the big seminar space pitches all the water inward with a metal roof into this space, drops it down, and then filters it up back into the pond. Or a sketch of that. Next. And then didn't decide this right away. We decided instead of making clear glass, we would etch the glass, so this became kind of mysterious space. This is the door open, and if you slide the door shut, then this is really a private space in the center of the public space. Next. And the difference is it comes over, drops on the ground, filters into this stone basin, and then there's a fountain that also recirculates the water. Next. These are the residences, little perspectives done for trying to make each of them a little bit different. So once again, we're pitching the water inward into the slot and then dropping it into the gravel. And we got to do also our same cabinet maker from Long Island City. And then an artist who came out of Bennington, did tile work. We wanted each of the rooms to feel different, have different tile, and we created 6 different tile patterns. Next. Next. Yeah, they even let us choose the bedspreads. Next. Next. Yeah, this was kind of cool, little detail. You know, you're in a bed, and the bed is only this high, and we have a desk, so we went down a couple of steps so the desk didn't feel like it looms over the bed. So that photograph looks like it does. Next. Yeah, even these pink tiles. That was the bathroom with the high window. Next. And then this building, which is offline, which we wanted to be a kind of spiritual space where kids could go and have a small seminar themselves and just sit and think or do whatever they wanted. And, so this is the drawings for that, a little model for that. Next. It's made of steel, this one. You can see actually the framing that we made ourselves to try to understand how the heck you build this thing. And then we have a hand crank that opens the roof, and instead of using those bright colors, we just use this very, very dark blue here, so when it does rain, it's open, it drinks as a pantheon down into the floor. I mean, actually, we did cheat this a little bit. We have floral warming there. Next. Yeah. Next. Next. This is the last project or not? I've been through 2 or 3. 2. Sorry, it's going to keep on going. Okay, this is in Chicago. This was a competition we won at the Logan Center for the Arts, University of Chicago. Any of those who know Chicago, this is the campus. It was basically done in the 30s. This is the Plaisance that was designed by Olmsted and Boston. Actually, this is one of the sites up where my hand is, the new Obama Library. The other one is down there. The south side has been abandoned. Chicago University had done a number of buildings here, but they weren't very public buildings. Actually, there's a building by Nice here, and there's a Sheridan Law School here, but not much had happened in the south side. So they chose this site for the Art Center at the University of Chicago. Logan's gave it $40 million, and Chicago said, well, let's build an art center and bring our arts together and try to make a connection between the south side of Chicago and serve these people as well as beckoning people from the north side. And I think if you win any competition because the others lose, in my opinion. And so the others lost. I mean, we all were so far over budget, it was ridiculous, but I'll show you what we did. Next. Yeah, so we had this idea of, this is the Chicago University owns this land, and that's the center of the campus. In fact, that's one site for the library. I think this is the other one. But this south side is wrecked. This is a view now looking from our building next. Yeah, we had the idea that Chicago is a wonderful city of towers, and there are silos out there. So using the neo-Gothic and a desire to call attention to ourselves, we said we should make a tower. Next. But we should also make a plane. And so the basic idea was that we'd create a tower of the arts. Now, Billy and I had lived in Carnegie Hall, actually on the top floor for 35 years, and that was a really interesting building where there were 160 studios, and they were all people stacked together, so we would be with dancers and musicians and so on, architects. So we took the program and we said, okay, we're going to sort of jumble it up. And we'll put a theater here. This would be a cinema theater. There would be a dance performance space here. There's a visual performing arts here. There's a large rehearsal venue there. This was our diagram. This was our competition entry. I mean, truly the others were screwier than this, but next. Eventually, though, the problem is they like the tower, and the tower is really expensive because it's such an inefficient volume to go up, and so we began to try to simplify the tower, but we always wanted something to correct the top. But then we said, okay, if the tower is more solid and more simple, we'll be better able to afford it. We don't need a big cantilever, this and that. So these are drawings to try to simplify the tower, but keep interest. Next. Eventually, this is our wooden model of that. And the building is more or less this way. I've always believed that fire stairs should be used as primary stairs and not as secondary stairs, and just in case of emergency. So we're basically trying to get people to, getting my knees replaced next month. Yes, I walk up here, but I walked up and down this many, many times because this is the fire stair that faces the campus, another fire stair in the back. And instead of using 3 elevators, as the consultant suggested we do, we use just 2 and made the fire stairs more interesting. And it actually does work, I think, pretty damn well. But we had such a struggle, and the only reason we could actually eventually build this was that the economy went south. That helps sometimes when the money's there. Anyway, this is the lower volume where we have north-facing skylights and then put solar panels on the south side and sort of created a community around these old buildings. This is the former Visual Arts Center. Next. We had this idea that there would be a single street that ran on 3 levels right through the building from one end to the next. We have 3 theaters on the lower level, an art gallery, a making space over here, a cafe over there, the courtyard that then works with this, the English language creative programs there, and delivery that's very important to a facility. Next. And actually the final, more or less, the sections of work. Next. And then the disposition of the program. And here we see on the right, the fire stair is poured in place concrete now. I don't know how many more of these we'll do because everyone says they can do them and then it's so difficult to do. I'm not sure I should be advertising them. Here, this is the second level, walking through the space on this level, looking down into the shop or out into the courtyard. But the triple back fire stair is a cool thing because instead of just repeating yourself all the time, even looking outside, you loop down from above to down here, and then you loop down here. So you're continuously changing your path and always have a little extra space on the landings, making it like an Escher drawing. Next. And then the building completed. Next. And then looking back, it's 158 feet tall, not that tall, but tallest building we've done. They only wanted solar panels on this side, but use about 10% of the power to the building and bring roofs over the spaces. This is delivery and then drop off for people coming to the theaters. Next. Use the reflective glass. I'm not sure how many times I'll do this again, but playing with different levels of reflectivity to animate a pretty simple facade. Next. The stone, we wanted to use a stone Indian limestone because it's local, but it's so boring. They've gotten rid of all of the character. And they just created this super vanilla stuff. So we found people who had only done largely walkways in Missouri, which wasn't so far away, and they had a nice variety of stone they're getting out at very, very low cost. I mean, we always go to the quarries. Like going to see your farmer, or maybe you want to buy a fish, you go to a fisherman, you know? So we go to the quarries because they know their stone and they know what's good and isn't good, and they'll always give you the best stuff. Next. So we built the building out of large stone bars that were 4 feet long and 4 inches by 4 inches. That's clad on top of the concrete structure there. Next. So here's the cafe that we can see. This is the fire stairs that you can see going up. Take it up a certain distance, then flip the window over to that side. We have our theater here, which I really want to look into, but this isn't making sense. You can see this is the performance space up there. So it's kind of a stack of things. Next. This is not a fire stair. This is the stair in the lobby. Take you 3 different levels. So it's an ornamental stair, but it too is interesting and changeable and a little bit dramatic. We undersized, again, as we did at the Neurosciences Institute, we undersized the lobbies, which are often boring and not used, so that it challenges people to move outside and move into the different spaces. Next. So the students, this is not our work, the students had it, and then started to make performances in these spaces. Next. View from the tower. Next. This in-between space between our building and the old building. Looking into the cafe here and the passageways. This is an outdoor bridge, so they have performances out here in the summertime. Next. I like this one. Next. That same stair between the 3 theaters. Here we've started to use on a number of projects this synthetic felt. It actually comes from a place called Leora Manet. Now she has largely made goods that could be used, could be here. Sorry, she should be here because it's a synthetic felt that can be used as a walk-off material, can be used outdoor or indoor, or can be used on walls. We give them the graphics and then they make it in China. We've done this now on 4 projects, so we just make the graphic and then they can make it look. They don't make it like you drew it because they don't do it right, but they make it pretty cool. Next. The auditorium, 450 people. Next. Yeah, it can be used for dance. Next. This is a black box theater. Next. This is the shop, which is all natural skylight facing north, and which you look into and then makes sets to go into the theaters. Next. Painting studios, again using the natural light, north facing. Next. I mean, the students make a mess of it, but it's a good mess. I mean, enough a control freak can give it over at some point. Anyway, even if you don't give it over, they take it. Next. One of the pin-up spaces. Next. And then these are the little cantilever that goes out to, it's a little too narrow actually, but it gives you the shelter and indicates that pathway going through the building. This is our felt stuff. And then this is an artwork that has been installed. I don't know that it's still there. Next. So this is the felting approach. We've done a lot of natural felt with our great friend Claudia Youngster in Holland. And it's a beautiful thing. It's the best, there's no question about it, because it's all natural wool and occasionally silk, but this is all synthetic. And what you can see is they're taking tiny little chops of the felt and they're dropping it on a base, and then they're micro needling it mechanically and pinning it in, and they can create great patterns that you provide them. Next. Like that, outside the theater. Next. Like just the graphics to say what floor you're on. Next. Take a baseball bat to hit it. One thing I wouldn't do is what we did here. Just make a bench and then have white material where someone's head might be. Because unless you're bald like me and don't have anything going on, you get grease on the white, so be careful of that if you ever do it. An art installation here. Next. And then we've often played with tile manufacture. One that we love in Sausalito, was in Sausalito now in this Heath Tile. We've worked with them over the years to take their standard tile and make little variations in it, and it's a great operation. Here we are always pushing them. This is a double dip tile. In other words, we have a system where we do primary glaze and then a secondary glaze. So we had a red palette, a green palette. We had a kind of straight palette, which didn't work out that well. You look at the rules, and then you look at your budget, and you make it simpler and simpler. Next. So these are walls. I definitely learned this by looking at the work of Alto, which is to say, try not to paint any walls with sheetrock if you can do it, especially in the institution. Leave a material that looks like you're an artist, but you're not, if you can. That's a durable material that gives life to the place. This brick, for example, pretty good move. Next. So we put those in the fire stairs to align them. Next. Then, actually, this is the student installation in the fire stair. Next. This is the top dance performance space. Actually, this does 3 different things and looks out over the city. This, you can see the one's doing a dance performance here. Next. Where there's a 50-person ensemble here. Great acoustics. Next. Where you use the classroom. And there's that little balcony that student thing sticking out of it that kids can go to when the performance breaks. This is the stone, the long stone bars that are just right up to a very, very common bond. Next. And then the final project is at Haverford College. So these are all college projects. And this is our 3rd dorm. First dorm was at Princeton, the second one at UVA. The 3rd one was here. So when we were doing the Barnes Foundation, I didn't really want another job, but they asked us to look at this and consider, this was not a competition, thank God, but it was an interview competition. Doing a dormitory here, they needed dorms, and they wanted to put in their location of a parking lot. And Haverford is a beautiful campus. It's actually an arboretum, and it's a small school, bigger than Bennington. But the idea of putting dormitories where there was a parking lot seemed like a really cool thing. It was doing the right thing. It was taking students who were living off campus here and living them on campus, getting rid of cars. Like, totally excellent. Next. So this is the campus, and what a glorious shot as you come into it. Next. This is the parking lot right next to the this is the building where you enter as you're looking for admissions, and obviously athletic facilities and then academic facilities. So the site is of a very gently sloping site. It was flat. Next. They predicated the idea that they would make a double-loaded corridor, and we've done this at the University of Virginia. They gave us what we thought was a tight budget, and because we've done a couple of dorms before, and we had an idea that we could get a better number of rooms by making a more square building. That's actually fairly logical, which is that you reduce your perimeter. So the area of the dorms is identical, 10,500 square feet. The perimeter, however, here is 570, and here it's 700. And the common space here, which is what they thought they wanted, fire stair and elevator for the fire stair, was 29 feet, and it was 3560. So they got a huge benefit by making that double-loaded corridor bigger, and us, we were lucky here. We proposed instead of 3.5-story buildings, we made 2-story buildings. Next. And the parking lot, it turned out, actually had, this is an exaggerated view because this is a 1 in 20 slope. They had taken a lot of crap and they'd thrown it in and then built a parking lot on top of it. They didn't have. So what we did, rather than get rid of that crap, we packaged it, and then we took the asphalt that was there and put it beneath it, and then buried it in the center of the building, and then made 2 identical 1-story buildings and used the berm so we don't have any interior stairs and no elevators. So we dumped the stairs and the elevators, we put them in part of the land, and then these are basically precast buildings. And then basically our concrete is in the landscape here. So we made a much better building at lower cost this way, and I don't want to be able to do this again. But I feel really proud of it. Next. So there's another dormitory to be built eventually, but these are the two absolutely identical buildings. That seems like a dumb thing to do, but it's cost effective. This is the berm. You come down at 120, you slope up at 120, and lo and behold, by this distance, you're nearly 10 feet removed from the other space, and then you exit directly on the grade on both levels. Huge savings in terms of fire issues, although they still sprinkler the buildings. Next. Next. Little perspectives of what this would look like. It's a Quaker school, so the students we were given doubles, triples, quads as a program, but the students get to vote on everything, so they all wanted singles, which meant could change more money. But we had the money to spend. So next, these are the poured-in-place concrete walls, and saying, look, this is an arboretum. You need to realize that you can use your exterior as your interior. Next. And then the plans that we got. So they were intended to make these as freshman dorms, and they've become very popular. So this is a community diagram here of 20 students. With the community of 20 students there. We wanted to mix the students on the floor. They have a little kitchenette. We created a courtyard in the center, a little study space here, the study space at the end of each hall, so you never put down a hall and don't see the light. These are our laundry and mechanical spaces are there. And then this happens to be the upper, the lower level plan. But the upper is pretty much identical. Now the kids, another thing we thought is that we've done this a few times, and I'm a big believer in it, is that the most important thing in the bathroom is to actually go into a room and close the door, rather than to be in a generalized space. So we said it doesn't matter if you make every single toilet and every single shower an individual place, you're going to spend more money, but the kids will respect it more. So this has been going for 4 years, and it is in pristine condition, and the seniors and juniors are trying to get rid of the freshmen and sophomores. Next. The plan is being constructed. Next. The buildings are just gravel roofs, and the mechanicals on the top of the buildings. The buildings are good behind the bars, so the pretty sort of mask. Next. We use this Danish brick, which is a gorgeous brick. Everyone thought this was going to be a big problem because it's a handmade brick. It's a little like Peter Zumthor's brick. Peterson brick, 250-year-old brick company. And you can see there are long bricks in their beds. No one can really use these, but we then set up a series of walls and had masons check them out because they didn't believe us it was going to be just the same cost to lay. Masons started laying the brick and they loved it. So we got rid of that problem. The brick would be more expensive to lay. And then we used Durotherm windows here next. We chose a darker brick. This is the dormitory. It's still a pisser to me that these kids close the shade window. I don't know what the problem is. I just keep everything open now. Nobody ever looks in when you get old. But you know, when you're young, I thought, what the hell is going on there? So they're happy here inside there. Next. So the concrete is strictly outside in the precast structure here. Next. 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 So this was a big pitch to make a tiny little courtyard in the center. So you've got to have a tree and a couple of tables, but that will bring light to the center of the building. And I had to fight hard for that one. Even our own studio didn't really buy that too much. Next. So here's the felt, once again used through the walls. We got to use oak floors. We trimmed all the rooms in oak. This is sheetrock. This is our tile here. These tiles. Next. And because we could create, we had ideas there. And we had the students like this right here, sort of snow and winter branches, and so we used different palettes on different floors. Next. And created little simple things for students to identify things outside their rooms. Next. We designed the tables and chairs, that same cabinet maker in Long Island City. Took forever, but we designed very, very sturdy, simple tables and chairs per the students' requirements so that it could be organized actually in about 30 to 40 different ways. Next. The students don't keep the rooms this way, trust me. But they are, you know, I guess I mean, the furniture is sufficiently clean and strong, the floors are cork, and the rest is just sheetrock. So the kids are, when they leave, this thing sort of scorched to the ground. It can repaint it the next year. Next. But the double-loaded corridor actually is no longer just a boring double-loaded corridor. Next. This is the little kitchenette idea. Next. It did work out. We used the same brick but in a lighter color to bring more light into the interior court. And again, using durable materials in the public spaces. Next. And that tiny court actually is a really successful thing. Next. Study alcoves. Next. You know, the kitchenettes connected to the public spaces. Next. Next. And that's it. So I want to thank you.